30 minutes of pure entertainment with musicians, writers, and actors to motivators, chefs, and even rappers to up-and-comings with the it factor. It's the Jazzie K Ward coming at ya. Have fun, some smiles, a few laughs. Tune in, chime in, sit back, relax. Have fun, some smiles, a few laughs.
Hi, everyone. Happy Monday and Happy New Year. Can you believe it's 2021? And this is my first show tonight for the new year. I'm super excited. I hope all of you are doing well, and thank you so much for supporting me, Jazzie K Ward, also for 2020. I had some amazing shows, some amazing guests, and also have a special guest tonight too that I'm so excited to have here on the platform tonight. So go ahead and share the video. Don't forget kwardradio.com. Please subscribe to the website, my YouTube channel, yeah, over there. Yeah, over there. All you have to do is click the subscribe button. Make sure you click twice so the bell, so you get all of the notifications when the videos go live, so you can go back and rewatch them, okay? Well, my special guest tonight's contemporary smooth jazz artist, the spontaneous grooving combustion, featuring, of course, Mr. Warren A. Keller, a woodwindist, composer, producer, is my special guest right here tonight on Artist Talk. I'm just going to show you a little quick peek of some of this phenomenal music. We'll be right back. Hey, we were just kicking it over here. Are y'all liking my new little background back here? It's all about the jazz. Well, ladies and gentlemen, again, thank you so much for joining me on Artist Talk. My special guest is Warren A. Keller, this fabulous group, Spontaneous Groovin' Combustion. We're going to have a wonderful conversation right here tonight. So I'm just super excited. So let's go ahead and bring Spontaneous Groovin' Combustion on the line.
Hey, Jazzy K. Ward.
Hello, my friend Warren.
Hey,
How are you?
I'm pretty good. As long as I'm with you, I feel good. It's good.
That's good. I'm so excited. I've been playing your music for a long time, and I think this is our first time having a conversation. I think, Warren, right? Face
It,
to
re-
face, like.
it really is. Yeah, just a little bit of, Facebook messaging and maybe Instagram. And then, of course, we did a quick air check yesterday. So I knew it was going to feel good and be good. And so, yeah, this is really it. And I got to tell you, and with no ceremony about it. I love, I'm just so predisposed to loving the broadcasters that support your music. It's like, you can relate. I'm sure, you do something from childhood, and you always look for those accolades and at least a pat on the back to tell you you're doing a pretty good job. And when people actually fall in love with the music enough to put it in their playlists, with Brian Culbertson's and Gerald Albright's, I mean, that's very flattering. And again, I feel a very strong connection to all my broadcasters and listeners, of course, too.
But, I mean, well, for anyone that's joining us tonight, again, thank you so much to everyone. If you haven't heard the music of spontaneous groove and combustion, I always say this, Warren, shame on you. But tonight, you're going to find out this phenomenal, amazing group.
Right.
I mean, you've been doing this a long time, composer, producer. Well, let me go back a little bit first, Warren.
Sure.
Was music like your first love? I mean, did you come from a family of music?
Yes. Yeah. And I wonder how often you hear that. My mom was a classical pianist, par excellence, a teacher, and turned my dad, who was a farm boy, into a major talent operatic baritone singer during the time that they were together. And mom was a little neurotic about music. So she had my poor little sister, Lisa, sitting at the piano at 2 years old. And although I wish I hadn't escaped her piano clutches, I started clarinet at 8 years old, and saxophone at probably 16 years old. So yeah, it really was my first love, I'd say, being bellied up literally to my mom's Steinway for the 9 months I was in there while she taught and practiced. And, one of my greatest joys was laying under that piano when she would practice and play and just absorbing that great sound. So yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So did you play at all, like high school? Did you?
Yeah. Yeah, high school, band, both, classical orchestra and, of course, marching band. And boy, clarinetists take a lot of abuse on the marching field, especially when you're a little chubby like I was. I don't mind even going to tell you what they used to say about me. But, transitioned again to sax at about 16, and then started, rock and roll, funk, disco cover group with my very dear friends from high school. And we actually became a New Jersey Shore pro, cover band, and also went on the road with one of the original Flamingos for over a year. And so we really were, kind of pro and semi-pro from about 17 years old.
Oh, wow. Yeah, and I was reading. I know, Warren, you did some. You had some success also in New York. Also, now there's rock and roll, Nashville country. Did you do a little country music too?
I did. Again, I love good. I love good from any genre, right? So, I mean, huge fan of Motown and Sound of Philadelphia, and, Earth, Wind and Fire and OJ's would be at the top of the heap. But at the same time, I was always a rock and roller. I was a singer, as well as a player. And so I've done so many different kinds of music. And in about 85, I noticed almost sort of automatic writing. Things started to sound very commercial, modern country-ish, not country western, but you know, that cool Garth Brooks, Alan Jackson, Diamond Rio, Shenandoah, Little Texas. It just really started to come out of, you know, the Americana rock that I liked so much, right? And so I went to Nashville in 92, and from 92 to the end of 2000, I wrote, I, you know, pounded the pavement, found a publisher. But again, you know, success is a funny word, right? I mean, if you measure it purely by financial, no, I had near misses in New York in the new wave, post-punk days, got close, you know, rubbing elbows with everybody from Blondie and Billy Idol and that crew. In fact, Billy Idol used to open for me because our drummer, my drummer in Ronnie and the Jitters, was Steve Missile, and Steve was Billy's drummer on the White Wedding album. So it was kind of crazy days, you know, and you thought, oh, this is going to happen. This is definitely going to happen. And it didn't, you know, got close, went to Nashville, got close, had a few major holds with some big artists, didn't get the big cuts. So I really was kind of a semi-broken, you know, person. I mean, writers, I think, and artists tend to be pretty emotional people, and the business end can be very difficult. And it really took me over a decade really to recover and to want to get back into music.
Back in, I mean, you know, when I'm glad you mentioned that, Warren, about success, because success comes in many forms and fashion. And like you said, it's not necessarily financial, you know, success. You know, you may not be a mainstream artist, but at the same time, I think in our own right, we are successful. Like, my name may not be on that billboard, I may not be a millionaire, but with your record of, if you look at your list of people you have worked with, I mean, you are truly a success in your own right.
Well, thanks. I mean, it certainly was exciting days to be around that. And you have a great attitude. You have the right attitude to you know, to try to be positive and set reasonable goals and be satisfied with, you know, where you are. I've always had a, you know, kind of a bad habit of reaching for the shiny brass ring and being very disappointed if I didn't go all the way. And that's not a great way to live, right? Because your life is always kind of glass half empty kind of a thing. But I'm more wired for that than the other side. But it's this whole smooth jazz, contemporary jazz has been such a positive and wonderful experience so far. You know, seems to be a beautiful community of people. And of course, we all have our sense of competition. It's what drives us to be better, but everybody really seems to be supporting one another. And as I said, it's just been a great experience. It's been a great experience to meet people like you, and frankly, in these days, so important to me how much the relationships I have with Afro-American broadcasters and fans, because I was in a field, a technical field, and not by anybody's choice and not by any sort of a racist kind of thing, but it was just a very white, older, male dominated industry and hobby and everything that's surrounding me. So gosh, you know, I've always had a heart for this, for equality, for loving and getting along together and playing with one another, music or whatever. So that's been one of the most beautiful blessings of the whole experience for me.
Oh, I think that's great. You know what? When you think about this business, I don't think I've ever asked anybody this question. You hear about the music business, and people always say, don't get in it. Don't go to the music industry. You know, it's tough. It's hard. So, Warren, why do you do it? Why do you stay in this business?
You know, it's funny. I'm not a big Bible person, but there's a scripture about a dog returning to its vomit, right? And it really kind of nails it, because after the near misses and the heartbreaks, and frankly, you know, almost minor sort of nervous breakdown types of things at each stage of the game, you think, don't go back to this, man. But again, if you are a creator, if you feel like you're doing good work, if you then feel like, gee, people really ought to hear this, I think they might like it too, then you're going to need the business of some sort or another. Right now, I will say again, this genre, and maybe because it's not a huge money genre, frankly, maybe it's why there are some wonderful business people in this arena, because in rock and roll, at least in the day where there was all that money and all that cocaine or whatever was your pleasure, there were a lot of, you call them suits, right? You call them bean counters. There were a lot of very nasty, shady people in those positions. Now, Nashville was a bit of a step above because a lot of the producers and the record execs were former session musicians, writers, and performers. So you had I think a nicer vibe there, but at the same time, highly competitive, backstabbing, and I certainly was lied to, let's say, by people in positions. But again, in contemporary smooth, it just seems to be such a positive genre. And there's real, for anybody that's aspiring to this, and of course I'm still aspiring, right? There's a definite course of action in this genre that you can actually get heard and get places if you're willing to spend a bit of money and work with the right people who, of course, have to like what you're doing as well.
Right. That's amazing. And I think that's also important in being passionate about what you do. And one reason, I've been doing radio for 25 plus years.
Wow.
And I tell people a lot of times, it's like, yeah, you see, we do shows, and I was like, well, it's really no money in it. I just enjoy great music, promoting, great artists, because again, they're mainstream artists, they're indie artists, but I don't want to call any names, but I also like to support those artists that don't, quote, necessarily get a lot of the recognition that I think they should get. Because you know how this business is. You primarily see those primary names on pretty much a lot of venues. I was like, there's so many artists out here, and why do we keep using the same people?
Right.
They're great.
Well, thank heaven again for folks like yourself who are willing to dig deeper and to look and see what else is good, because it's kind of like rooting for the New York Yankees, right? It's like, once somebody's made it and or the Patriots, it's like, once they're just a proven commodity, and you got to make a little way for somebody else, because you're not going to be able to sustain the genre and having new artists come up if there's no chance for a win, if there's no chance for a play. And what I've learned recently, and I'm always learning in the business, is it's very interesting today, because you could have really nice success at radio, which would apply to us, spontaneous groove and combustion, but still be hurting, let's say, on the streaming side. There's a multi-number one Billboard artist that I'm a bit friendly with, who just hasn't cracked the streaming code, doesn't do big numbers there, but does great at radio. Then I have another acquaintance who has made that official Spotify smooth jazz playlist, and great artist, and that has taken them to that million play spot. You see a Boney James at 19 million spins, and then you're excited for your 100,000 spins, and not to paint get the violin out, right, and paint a negative picture, but I wonder how many of the listeners realize that we're talking cents on the dollar for each Spotify or Apple spin, and of course thousands of dollars in promotion to get your name really out there and heard. So the equation isn't exactly balanced, right? And especially now in the age of COVID, which hopefully the age ends fairly soon, but you don't have that ability to really perform either. So it's a tough road to hoe for sure.
For sure. Well, ladies and gentlemen, again, I'm Jazzy K. Ward, your host for Artist Talk. My special guest is Warren A. Keller with the awesome group Spontaneous Groovin Combustion, and we're going to continue this conversation, and we're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back right here on Artist Talk.
A live one-on-one conversation, 30 minutes of pure entertainment with musicians, writers, and actors, to motivators, chefs, and even rappers, to up-and-comings with the it factor. It's the Jazzy K. Ward coming at ya.
Hello everyone, this is Bridget Williams, owner of Necessities 101, asking that you please follow me on Instagram and please visit my Facebook business page. There you will find an array of great gift items for this time of year. I specialize in statement jewelry, and you will be supporting a small business, and I would like to thank you in advance for that. I also would like to wish each and every one of you a happy, safe holiday season.
There's always one more chance. Take the needle off the record. We'll keep dancing all night long.
Hey guys, welcome back. I'm Jazzy K. Ward. My special guest is Mr. Warren A. Keller. He's with the stunning group Spontaneous Groovin Combustion, and we're having a wonderful conversation. And Warren, I really want to talk about this new song, the EP that I am loving, and When the Stars Go Blue, that it's going to be released February the 5th. Tell me about that song.
So that song was written by a kind of an acoustic rock and roller named Ryan Adams. I don't know much about Ryan Adams, but it was a big hit for Tim McGraw in the country market. And I would hear that tune and sort of, you're tuned out, and and all of a sudden When the Stars Go Blue would hit in that chorus, and it would just affect me so emotionally. And every time I go, what is that? What is that song? And I remember probably the last and defining time was I was doing a solo smooth jazz sax gig at a club here, and it was playing right as I was getting up and going back to a set, and I'm like, there's that Stars Go Blue again. What is that? Finally looked it up, and again, Tim McGraw, When the Stars Go Blue, you can check out. That's a really nice video. But that melody, my record promoter Adam Leibowitz at ASL called it kind of an anthemic type of melody. It's a very strong melody, and the song, actually, the lyric is a little bit on the dark side. It's a little bit depressing. It's kind of open to interpretation, but it's clearly, to me, about some perhaps a love interest who has married unhappily and is kind of like a puppet on a string for a spouse that they're not. But so taking the lyrics out, it's a beautiful melody. And I just felt really compelled to do it.
Okay.
And and so there was another tune on the record called The Wind Whispers, which is very light, and this one's kind of on the heavier side. And it was a little bit of a not a battle, but a struggle to decide between the two. But When the Stars Go Blue won the day.
Won the day. And, and for all of those who are watching, for those who go back and watch the replay, again, we're streaming everywhere live tonight. We're live on YouTube, we're on Twitch, we're on Twitter, we're on Periscope, we're on Facebook, we're on K Ward Radio. And don't forget to go over to kradio.com and subscribe to the website too. So we're going to play the song so everyone can can listen to the song. Again, this is When the Stars Go Blue by Spontaneous Groovin. Combustion. Right here on Artist Talk. Yeah, then you just let, you know what, Warren, listening to that song, of course, I was over here having me just a little sip of wine because it just puts me, it's that feel good, right? It's that feel good. But when I listen to the music of Spontaneous Groove and Combustion, there's the textures, the colors, the melody. I mean, the music is just marvelous.
Wow, thank you so much. Really, that means a lot. Really.
Yeah. So, how did spontaneous groove and combustion? How did you all come together and put your sound together to have your own unique sound?
Wow. Well, that's a beautiful thing to hear. Thank you. I I'm kind of a lone wolf. I would love to have a band. Before COVID, I had a wonderful rock and roll band led by a very talented 27-year-old guitarist singer named Josh Folmsby, or the Crooked Roots. But as far as the jazz thing, I live in a place that's not particularly conducive to the funkier and jazzier side of thing. There certainly is jazz here, but I just had come here at a time where I just wasn't really able to get into the scene. And as typical of my nature, I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this on my own. And so, I've done a ton of recording over the years, again, as a singer, as a player, as a writer, but really had to step up as a producer. I've always sat at the boards. I've always asked the engineer friends that I've made question after question. So I knew my way around the analog studio, but really this was my first, foray into the digital studio. And so through the miracle of hardware, software, software that's able to generate parts based on arrangements, able to use players, the quality of Jeff Lorber, Alex Al, Third Richardson, actually able to generate parts that they recorded samples of. And so, in one sense, it's a shame that I don't, because I love a band environment. I love the kibitzing and the relationships and the friendships with the bands. But in a sense, it's easier. It's certainly less expensive. I can pretty much do this from home with my saxes, with my flutes, with my limited keyboard skills, and with my, pretty solid production skills. And so that's where it came from. The name Spontaneous Groovin Combustion. There's a lot of groovy and groovin and grooves out there, but I had that name in my back pocket since I'd say about 95. I was playing with a duo partner in Nashville, kind of a jazzish, Steely Dan-ish kind of a thing. He was a really talented guy, and we were called Parallel 12, kind of this name. And for some reason, this spontaneous human combustion, spontaneous groovin combustion. And I never thought I would do anything with it, but gosh, come 2016, and I'm starting to get back into playing. And by 2019, I'm ready to release the first single. And so I put it into play.
Right. I mean, you definitely put that in, because when I first heard the group, Spontaneous Groovin Combustion, and everybody, please go to the website. The website should come up on the screen to support the group. There it is, right there, spontaneousgroovincombustion.com. Now, I know the song won't be released to February the 5th. Can they pre-order the song, Warren, or do they have to wait?
No, yes, Jazzy. And that's the biggest favor I would ask anybody that's interested in what we're doing. Again, you learn things along the way. If you would pre-save this at Spotify or pre-add this at Apple, Deezer, etc., that's a magic bullet that Spotify and Apple then goes, there's interest in this act and in this release. And that's what gives you a better chance at making one of the official smooth jazz, contemporary jazz lists. So that would be a great favor to me if folks would pre-save and pre-add. I do have a link for that, but I don't know how we would shoot that to you.
Oh yeah, you could just tell me, if you could just tell me that or send it to me.
I will.
Also, I can also I will also add it into the link for you too.
That's awesome. Thank you.
You know, and I think that's also important, Warren, during this time, you know, and normally, and I'm sorry, I forgot to ask you, Warren, you know, with the pandemic, you know, this pandemic I always say it's been a blessing, it's been a curse. It has allowed us to kind of stay still, stay put. And I'm speaking solely for me. And because it's allowed me, you know, I'm teleworking from home, which I'm thankful for that, but it's allowed me, my mind to be more creative, just say, hey, I'm going to have to find another way to do some things to, you know, even with your music, and you're able to do that from home. But
Yeah.
how have you been navigating through this whole process?
It's been, honestly, knock wood, quite easy for me. And that's not taking anything away from people who have lost jobs and lost businesses and really suffered. I worked independently from home in my day job, which I've continued to do, and which actually, because it's a hobby-based, I teach people how to image process, specifically astrophotographs, astro images, astrophotography. And so people have, thank you, Robert McLean. I see my social media guru blasting that link there. Thanks, Robert. Robert McLean, that's really what I wanted to say in my best Scottish accent. But the business has been good. People have had the downtime to learn more. So we've been doing virtual workshops and one-on-one instruction in that. And on the music end, you know, nothing's changed. I can create from home here. And also, I live now very rurally. So even though I'm a Bronx-born Jersey guy, I live in very rural West Virginia. And so I live a peaceful life on a hill most of the time, you know. And Wendy knows about our hill, and she has a beautiful hill there too.
Okay.
So it's really, for me, it's honestly, other than not playing with the rock band on weekends, it's really been a very small bump in the road. But again, understanding, because I've got several doctor friends, in fact, one that runs an emergency room in Northern California, kind of a major hospital. And so I know how hard so many folks have had it.
Right. Yeah. You know, when I think about spontaneous grooving combustion, a lot of times, you know, Warren, I've been saying SGC.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing. Like I said, it's a long, you know what, name the other day I said to you. And yeah, if we could kind of cement that SGC as a nickname, that's a good thing too.
Yeah. So, you know, everyone, you know, supporting the group Spontaneous Grooving Combustion, go to Spotify. You know, when I work out in the mornings, whether it's a run or walk, I always do my Spotify, you know, link. I put Spontaneous Grooving Combustion, and among other groups, because that's also streaming Apple Music to help, you know, to support also artists and their music. And I wanted to ask you, Warren, how do you feel about the industry and the music industry and social media?
Social media is, you know, still a very strange animal, right? I actually had the wonderful experience of a lynch mob coming after me in my other life, my astronomy life, for kind of just trying to give people some good advice, turned into a terrible tirade. It's an interesting place. I mean, it can be great and it can be very scary as well. Music industry is so different today, right? A blessing and a curse. In the old days, if you weren't signed to Arista or, you know, EMI, Sony, whatever it was, Capitol, you had no career whatsoever. Today, you know, you can actually have a career as an independent artist. By the same token, you've now got probably times 100 people who are also out there thinking that they've got something to offer. So there's a tremendous amount of content out there that you're trying to blast through the din to be heard. And again, like we said before, extremely low returns on streams and downloads.
Right.
and who's doing optical CD media anymore. Even CD Baby went out of the CD business
Right.
pretty much, right? So yeah, it's an interesting time. It really is. And again, for good and for bad, we're getting to hear great artists that never would have seen the light of day before. And I guess we're also seeing a lot of mediocrity that doesn't get filtered at all.
Yeah. So, are there any other artists that you in Spontaneous Groove and Combustion would like to collaborate with?
I made friends with the great bassist Brendan Rothwell, and Brendan was, yeah, you guys had, and he so graciously said to me, "Let's do something together." I would never ask. There's an Italian producer guitarist, Luigi Pistillo, who played guitar on Double Deuces and who just did another part for me. But oh my gosh, sure. I mean, I admire so many of the great artists in the genre, right? Of course, 2/3 of them are saxophonists, so I don't necessarily need to collaborate with them unless the G-man Gerald Albright says, "Hey, Warren," But there's so many good players. But to have a great keyboardist like Lorber or Benoit or Culbertson, incredible guitarists, so many of them, Joyce Cooling and Callione, and the list is endless. I mean, that would be fantastic. I mean, I'm a bit, I guess I'd say, insecure, right? I mean, at heart, I was a classically trained musician, but I'm not a natural jazzer. I didn't come up in, conservatory. I kind of run whenever the word music theory is mentioned. And so, if I have something to offer, it's melody and a level of sophistication that certainly doesn't match some of the maestros in this genre. But it sure would be cool to collaborate.
Maybe collaborate. So, just a couple more questions. So, what's
Sure.
next for Spontaneous Groove and Combustion? I know February the 5th, the new release of When the Stars Go Blue. Anything else coming up this year for you?
I have a terrible habit, and I guess a lot of musicians will do it. I'm really excited about the fact that I just put up my 7th new tune in the can after the 11 on the album. So I have to really control that excitement of saying, "Oh, wow, I'm still turning out some stuff," and really concentrate on promoting the heck out of this record. Because frankly, if it doesn't do well, it's difficult to then, justify, that second album. Although, how does a creator say, "No, I'm not going to release my music"? But really that, Jazzy, again, not able to play live, just continuing to work on new music. But again, just partnering with Robert McLean that you saw there, my social media guy, and Robert also does some things, and Adam Leibowitz at ASL, and Sandy Shore, Sue Parker, and the team at smoothjazz.com, just really trying to get the word out to build upon the foundation of what we've accomplished in the last 18 months. And heck, again, we've done some amazing things in a year and a half.
Yeah. And, so one last question, Warren, before I let you go. And I know you've been in all genres of music. You've been in this game for a long time.
Yeah.
So someone watching this, thinking about, doing this career path, what's the best advice that you could share with us?
Well, again, I'll back up what I said. This genre is incredibly accessible. If you're working in contemporary jazz, smooth jazz, there are people that will listen. And if they like what they hear, they will facilitate getting the word out there. Rock and roll on the other side, oh my gosh, it's still a wild, wild west. I don't know how you do it. You do your best product. You do everything that they're doing today, streaming and all of that. And it's very, very difficult. I don't know a lot about some of the other genres. Nashville's an interesting place. You got to be there. They don't want to talk to you or listen to you unless you're there, unless you're co-writing with other writers. And so they have that kind of system in place. But the bottom line to your question, Jazzie, is if you feel you're talented and if you have music in your heart and soul and need to put it out there and have a desire for people to hear it, you must do that. You will do that. And if it's good, we'll applaud that. And like mom says or dad says, make sure you have something to fall back on. Make sure you have something that you don't despise, that's going to ruin your creative flow, to earn money, because that's important.
Right. I think that's awesome, Warren, to share that, because I always believe you have to have something that you can always fall back on, because that's just life. You never know which direction we never thought about this pandemic and, spontaneous grooving combustion. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep giving us that groove sound, the music that makes us feel good.
We will.
As long as I have a platform, you always have my support.
Thank you so much, Jazzie. I love you. Like I said, I love my broadcasters, love anybody out there that's listening to us and digging us, and we appreciate it very, very much.
Yeah, and come back to the show anytime we want to talk. Again, everybody, go to spontaneousgroovingcombustion.com. You see the pre-sale link, the new song, February the 5th, When the Stars Go Blue. And it's been a great show, Warren.
Thank you, Jazzie. I had a lot of fun.
A lot of fun. Thank you so much for having this conversation.
Thank you.
And Happy New Year to you. Great things
Same to you.
And we'll talk next time, okay?
All right, my brother. Thank you. See you again soon. Bye-bye.
Wow, I had a lot of fun. Spontaneous groove and combustion. The sound, you need to go right now to Spotify, Apple TV, go to the website, spontaneousgroovingcombustion.com, and check out this amazing music. And if you already have it, we have to, there's so much music out here, and you want to get some new things, right? Different sound, different groove, right? And if you want to support me, Jazzie K. Ward, there's my link there, address. My Cash App information is also listed there. If you want to support the show, any amount, we definitely appreciate that. Go to the YouTube page, K Ward Radio, over there. Yeah, it's over there. Hit subscribe button. Make sure you click the bell so you can get the notifications when we go live. So I'm going to leave you with some more grooving sounds from Spontaneous Grooving Combustion. And this is Jazzie K. Warren saying, have a great night. Have a great week. Don't forget to join me Thursday for a special show right here at 7 p.m. And Featured Friday is going to be another phenomenal show. Remember, make sure you tell someone you love them today. Tomorrow's not promised to any of us. And please be kind to others. Good night.
Hey guys, this is JAZZIE K. Ward. You need to get your KWARD radio mask. And if you don't have one, shame on you. Well, you can still get them. They're only $15, $5 for shipping. Thank you so much for your support. I'll see you soon.
JAZZIE K.